done. Right, so today I'm going to do the raindrop effect on this tray, but I'm going to test out. I haven't seen it done elsewhere. I'm sure it probably has been. It's just I've not seen it. I'm going to do the raindrops in a colour. So I'm going to use a transparent dye. This is Loch, which is like a transparent green from Create and Bloom Crafts. And I'm going to do transparent green raindrops and see if it works. Like I said, I'm sure it's been done. It's just I haven't seen it. So if you haven't seen the raindrop effect, it's where you put clear drops of resin. Quite often it's UV resin, but I'm using one coat. Only because that's what I used when I first tried this effect. It worked beautifully and I've never used anything else, but you can use UV, loads of people do. But I'm going to use the one coat. You put tiny little drops of that, leave it to cure or cure it with your lamp if you're using UV resin. Brush the surface then with a chrome powder or a chameleon powder, and then you pour usually a dark colour over the back of that, and then when you flip your mould over, it looks like there's droplets of water sitting on the top of the mould. I'm really sorry, I don't know who came up with the idea. I think it was posted on Instagram a while ago. Whoever it was did notify that they came up with it, so all credit for this technique does go to the creator of it. I didn't come up with this, and I'm sure somebody has come up with the idea of trying coloured raindrops, and it may not work. So we're going to try and we're going to see if it does work. So yeah, I'm going to do the raindrops in transparent green. I wouldn't be me if I didn't do a glittery something in there somewhere. So I'm going to do a glittery rim to my tray. I'm going to use Spruce glitter from Create and Bloom Crafts, which is that gorgeous dark green. I think it should work really nicely. I'm sprinkling it all over the table here. I think it should go really nicely with the Loch Lomond droplets. And then I'm going to brush the whole mould with silver. Now this just for you online is Apex Resin's old name. This is a floating metal powder in silver. Create and Bloom Crafts has one. Lots of places stock these. This is just because I've got it left over and I need to use it up. Basically, I've got loads in there, look. So I'm going to brush this over afterwards to give a real sort of chrome, like a metal effect. I'm hoping this is all going to work. This is a big experiment. I've not tried this before. I've done the raindrop effect before, but I've not tried this before. So you're coming along for the ride and we'll see if it works. Right, I've measured 40 mils of resin and 40 millilitres of hardener in here. So I've got 80. I think it's going to be too much, but I'd rather have slightly too much because the droplets won't take much. I just wanted to make sure I had enough to go around the rim as well. If you've not worked with one coat before from Apex, this is I think it's their thickest apart from their tumbler resin. This is their thickest resin that they have. It's really thick. It's a lovely resin though. It's really glossy. All their resins are really glossy, but this one is a lovely one for working with for if you want height on things such as these droplets, top coats, anything like that. It's just, and also because it cures quickly, if you're doing something like this technique, it's great for that if you need to work in layers. This is also fantastic for ocean art. So if you like your ocean art and you like to make waves, this is great for that because it'll hold cells and create cells in your waves really, really well. But it also means because it's touch dry, I think in 2 hours or so, it means you can come back in with the next layer. That's because I'm thinking of waves. So as with all my videos, I just show you the start of mixing to show you it go cloudy. There are a lot of bubbles in this one because it's just such high viscosity, because it's so thick. You can't help but introduce bubbles into it. And I always say, don't worry about bubbles when you're working with Apex resins. I always use Apex resins. You'll notice that in all my videos. I've used other brands, but Apex, they're tried and trusted with me. I get great results from them, so that's why I stick with them. I absolutely love working with Apex resin. Yes, so I'm going to carry on. There is another video if you want to see a full real-time mixing of resin. There is another video on my page where I show you the full mixing time, how it goes from cloudy to clear, talk you through making sure that you scrape the sides of your pot, and all of those things about mixing resin. But for the purposes of this one, we're going to skip ahead, and I'll come back when I'm ready to pour the glitter layer, the glitter rim. I'm going to pour a little bit of this now. It's fully mixed into this one. Don't need a lot for the droplets because they won't take a lot of resin to make. You can alter the sizing, but you won't need a huge amount of resin for them. I might do slightly more than that just so I've got enough just in case, but I don't want loads. So I think that'll be plenty. I think I've probably done too much, but it's better to have too much than not enough, is what I always say. And the rest is going to go in here for the glitter. Yeah, I've definitely done too much. I'm going to leave some in this cup for now, just in case, because I can top up either one then, instead of... So I'm going to leave a little bit in there. So this is for my glitter and this is for the droplets. So let's add the glitter first to this one. So you can see there's lots of bubbles still in there. They are popping though. Don't know if you can see, they're popping by themselves. It's hard to see on camera, they are going. Right, in with our spruce glitter. Now this, because this resin is thick, it will hold this glitter really nicely. So I'm going in with 5, I think. I want a really nice glittery edge to this tray. You have to work fairly quickly with this resin. It's got a work time of about 20 minutes. And if your workspace is warm, it's going to be slightly less. I have had the heating on in my house, so I'm conscious I can't be hanging around too long. I do want this one to thicken up slightly before I do my droplets because I want them to hold their shape. So I don't mind that one sitting there slightly, but for my glitter rim, I want to be able to work quite fast. I think I need maybe one more in there. I'm almost 100% I've done too much resin here. Just goes to show. Always overestimate. And if you're new and you're starting out in resin and you wonder what to do with your leftover resin, if you've got some left, I would invest in some cheap or cheaper molds that you can just pour into. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fill the mold up. Some of my favorite makes have been ones that I've filled in layers of leftover colors. So just do that, just pour into them over time and you end up with a really cool, different coloured, multicolored make. Obviously, if the other thing you can do with them, excuse me, is you can pour them onto it like a sheet of baking paper or something and then shape them to make really cool little, almost like mini bowls or something like that. You could try something like that as well. Right, I'm going to pour this glitter rim now. I'm going to start at the top. I have to go slowly because this resin, because it's thicker, it's slightly harder to control. I'm going to have to lift my hand a minute because my pot's in the way, which is why I came back on myself. But sometimes you wonder why I stop my hand. It's because there's droplets coming off the end of my cup and I don't want them to fall anywhere else. I have got some overspill. I'm not going to be too worried about it. I might try and clean it up, or I might just leave it and leave this one to look slightly more organic because I am doing raindrops. So I might just leave it and leave it to be a slightly more natural looking piece and pretend that that's what I was going for. Well, that is what I'm going for now because as you can see, I might even try and let's go with the flow on this and turn this into a wavy edge around the rim. Why not? There we are. You can always change what you're going for. Of course, if it's not what you wanted, if it's not the idea that you had and you're not happy with it, use a baby wipe or come back another day and try and do it again. It's not the end of the world. I always try and look at everything as if that's how it was supposed to be. So I plan to only have a rim. I've now got something that's going to look slightly different, but to me, that's what it was going to look like. So that's what we've got. Right, let me just move that so I can show you this one. So we're going to go in with our Loch Lomond tint. Now I'm going to give this a mix because it has separated slightly, which is normal for tints and any pigments really. Try and bring it into focus so you can see. So I'm giving it a really nice little mix. And now I've only got the tiniest bit of resin, so I'm actually not going to use the stick I'm mixing with because I don't want to tint this too dark. I want to leave this really transparent, and I think that this stick, even if I clean it off, I think I'm going to have too much colour on there. So, because it's surprising, unless I can scrape it really, really... I think I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to use a different stick. It's ideal if you can get silicone ones of these because you can wipe them off. I can't find them very easily, not the little ones. The big ones, yes, but I can't find little ones. I don't know if anyone can find little mixing sticks. Now by small, I mean teeny tiny. I don't even know if I've taken slightly too much there. So I'm even going to wipe that off to leave just what's on the tip, that's soaked into the tip of the stick. It doesn't look like anything, but as I've said before, you can add, you can't take away. This is all an experiment, but look how strong the colour is. And remember, these are only tiny little drops as well. You just want enough. It's the smallest amount of resin and it's going to be really little raindrops. I do want them to have a colour, so I may do a tiny drop more, and I am just going to wipe the end of my stick for this, because you can wipe your sticks with wipe your lollipop sticks with baby wipes. I haven't got any here at the moment. I've got a piece of kitchen paper, so I'm going to just use that paper towel. I don't know if I need it though, actually looking at that. Oh, it's a tough decision. Right, I'm going to add a tiny bit more. So I'm just going to wipe that so that it saves getting another one. And by tiny, I mean that. I'm going slowly. Right, I definitely think that that's dark enough. And I also think this resin is getting really to the consistency that I want. If you add it too soon, even though it's thick, you're not going to get your droplets to hold. I'm going to do a test drop in a minute and we're going to see what we've got. Right, that's definitely the colour, that's fine. So I don't need any more of this. Beautiful shade though, isn't it? Right, let's bring my no longer glitter rim, my strange off-centre oval tray. There's a nice big bubble there. I'm going to pop him. Go. Be careful using a flame near the edge of your silicone mould though. You don't want your resin to fuse. I'm going to give this a few bangs like that to try and release any bubbles that are trapped. I can see there's quite a lot of bubbles rising to the top. So I am going to go round in a minute and I'm going to try and torch them. But you do have to be careful because they're all going to be close to the edge of the mould. I tell you, I am going to do, I am going to try and clean some of this back. I'm going to go and get a clean paper towel, only because it's coming into the middle slightly and I am going to lose that raindrop effect. So I will be back in, I just need to go and get a paper towel. Okay, so resin does like to spread and move because it's a fluid art. So I'm going to just get a point of a paper towel and I'm just going to try, this might turn into a big disaster now. I'm just going to try and see if I can and all I'm doing, I'm just scraping it onto the edge of this cup. I don't mind about the odd little bit that I'm leaving behind, but what I don't necessarily want is for this to keep flowing into the middle. So if I try and lift out some of this resin, especially here, it doesn't help, as I've said before, it doesn't help that my table isn't level. The reason I'm not using a lollipop stick for this is I don't want to scratch my mould. There's usually a way to fix mistakes. Not always, but we try. It's not really a mistake either, but it's not really what I was going for. So I'm going to try and get the look that I was going for. It's more of a thicker edge than I was planning. That's fine, but it's not, I didn't want it quite as thick as that. So I'm going to keep working backwards. And obviously everybody's different, so I'm going to get a clean piece. If you keep going with the same bit, you start smearing it and then you start getting in a bit of a mess. I'm already in a bit of a mess, but it doesn't matter. To me, that's looking a bit better. I don't know if you agree. Now, I could be really over the top and try and clean all of this off as well. I might try and get some of the bigger bits of glitter in a minute. That to me, I think that's a bit better. That's looking better. It's not quite as coming out quite as far. I think I just need to do this bit at the bottom. Table creaking. Let's just do this bit by here. I am conscious of time as well. I need to do these raindrops. So I can always come back to this, but I'm gonna, that's better. It's given me more of a space to work with now. Right, so last little job, clean the clean area, and I'm just gonna try to come round and take off some of the bigger bits. The reason I'm doing it is because these bits, you're going to see them when you brush it with the metal powder. Anything that's resin, you're going to see. But what you can also do when it's cured, you can pick it off. So I'm not too worried about these little bits in the middle, because anything I don't want, I can scrape off. But obviously I can't scrape off the whole of the rim. Right, I'm running the risk now of messing around with it too much. I think that's got it more to where I was hoping. So one more by here. And down here. Okay, and then last, I have to find a clean bit of paper towel now. Kitchen paper. those bits there. Oh, I'm knocking things over off camera. Well, I think that's better than it was, but see all these bits here? This is what I mean. I'll show you this. Once I've done the droplets might cover some of them up anyway. I'm going to see if I can coax. That might be better, actually. Try and coax these big bits. And these bits are really stuck. Oh, there we go. And then, right, so, oop. Okay. I think that's looking a bit better. It's very organic, is my word. So, still got a load of this green glitter left, so I'm going to have to try and use that in something, and I've still got a bit left in here as well. But for now, let's do these rain droplets. So yeah, this is really thick. So I'm going to take a bit on the end of my lollipop stick and just literally hold it over and let it drop. I'm not worrying about bubbles. They'll look really pretty in your droplets of water. If you don't want them, then you can always try and torch your resin beforehand, but a thicker resin is going to hang on to bubbles. There are machines out there that can get rid of these bubbles for you, but half of the beauty with resin, I actually think bubbles can look really pretty in resin. They catch the light. It also shows it's handmade, so embrace the bubbles sometimes. These are holding really nicely. Can you see they're holding? I wonder if I can zoomed you in a little bit. So try and go for different sizes as well. It's hard when you're doing it this way. You can also use lollipop sticks. But see, when you've got a little bit left on the end, make another raindrop and it'll be a smaller one. And if you've got a little bit again, now what we're going to do afterwards, we're going to just mess around with a few of the larger ones to make them not quite as round, because at the moment raindrops can fall like this, but some of them as well will not be perfect round shapes. I'm trying not to make sure I've got anything falling off before I want it to onto the mould. If you want to make a bigger droplet, then you can pour on top of a droplet you've already done, which will give you a bigger one. So if your droplets like this one are not perfectly round, that's fine, because that's actually what I want on some of them. Droplets of water can be perfectly round, as we know. Not sure if I've zoomed in a bit too much there. So this was probably sitting for about 10-15 minutes. And I'll be able to come back later on today and brush my silver pigment over the top. And I'll be able to pour the back layer on. For the back layer, I'm going to use high gloss resin, because it's a lovely resin that will flow beautifully over the top of all of these little raindrops. Right. Now it's a fine line between knowing when you've done enough as well. So I think I'm gonna have a look at it. Maybe one here, but at that size. And if they touch the rim, it doesn't matter. And one here. There is a space in the middle as well. But what I'm actually going to do, you know how sometimes, oh, see, that landed there. That was supposed to go there. Sometimes what happens to raindrops when they get close together, they join to make one. So you can really play around with it. You can almost like, you know, paint almost when you're making your raindrops. But to me, this looks slightly too uniform. So I'm going to just, a couple of them, drag into irregular shapes and try not to give them any spiky edges because water doesn't have spiky edges. I think this one I'm going to just drag out slightly. We don't want to give them weird shapes, but just so that they're not, me personally anyway, I don't want them all to be perfect circles. Especially considering that I don't have a perfect glitter, a rim around the outside. I think it might look a bit odd if I've then got perfect raindrops in the middle. Oh, see now I've got a spike. I don't want a spiky edge to my... So we're going to repair that. So what I might do is get a tiny bit more resin, make it a slightly bigger raindrop. That's looking okay, I think. I think I'm happy with that. I think that's okay. The trouble is I can't leave things alone. And then you run the risk of ruining it. So yeah, I'm going to put a tiny one in there and then I'm going to stop. So that is my first layer done. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And to make sure I don't do anything, I'm going to take my gloves off. So we always wear gloves when we work with resin or barrier creams or something like that. So I'm not going to fiddle with that anymore. I'm going to leave that all to cure now. Should take a couple of hours. Actually, I should have kept my gloves on because I need to use this leftover resin in something, but I'll put a new pair on and I'll use that in something and we'll come back and we'll dust the top with our silver powder. So I'll see you soon. So this has been curing now for, I think it's about 4 hours, and it's perfectly hard enough now to be able to crack on. I probably could have done it slightly sooner, but to be honest, I was out doing a few other little errands. So I've just left it and I'm going to come back and do the silver on the top. So you can see what I mean when I said it's going to blend together, but that's absolutely fine. I don't mind that. Now you can see up the top what I mean when I said I've got a few little droplets. Now I don't know whether I might just leave those, but if you don't want them, then they come away really easily by just lightly scraping. Can you see they just come off? So I might just take some of them off. I've been very indecisive on this piece. I'm not, it is an experiment. I've honestly got no idea. Like I said, I've done the raindrop technique before with just clear resin and a chameleon pigment background and then a black resin over the top. But I've never done it with a coloured resin like this, a coloured clear resin, and I've not done it with a chrome powder. So I have no idea if it's going to work. I don't know if I've done these dark enough. This is a complete experiment, so we're going to see what happens. Okay, so to brush on your chrome, your floating metal powder, your chrome powder, whatever it is you're going to use, you just need a soft bristled paintbrush. Don't use one of the ones that's got the hard bristles because you risk scratching your mould. So this is just a kid's paintbrush. I actually have taken it out of my son's paint by numbers, but I won't tell him. I'll wash it and he can have it back. So, right, what I'm going to do is just dip in and try and dab off any excess. Now this stuff does float a lot, so just be careful. and then you just brush it on. And I am aware that there will probably be, once you pour the resin on the back, there will probably be areas where I've got such, like I showed you, where I was scraping, there will probably be areas where you will see it underneath. But seeing as we're going for a kind of natural look on this piece, I'm going to try not to get too hung up on that. So brush over the top of the raindrops as well. It's quite hard. It doesn't like to stick to resin, like to the cured resin. So what I try and do is just dab it on as much as possible to leave a slight coating. I mean, when you pour it on, it's gonna go on the back of it anyway, but as long as you've got something. And you would do this with your chameleon powders as well. I haven't tried this with a mica powder, so I don't know, it might work with that. This is it's quite therapeutic to almost paint, but you can see where it's going to go. It really goes almost like a mirror. And these floating metal powders, chrome powders, I've got them in bronze, gold, copper and silver. So I know that you can get them from multiple places. Like I said, Create and Bloom and Apex, they're stocked on both of their websites. Not in these big tubs at the moment, but they are stocked on both of their sites, so you can get them there. I know that they are stocked in other places as well. I think you can get them in other colours also. But yeah, this is, just make sure you've covered the surface of the mould, and don't forget about the sides as well. Don't worry, if you go onto the top of the mould, such as here, it will clean off. You can either wash it off afterwards, or it'll if you use frog tape, like a painter's tape, masking tape that you would use when you're decorating. If you use that, that's what I use to clean my moulds before I pour into them, because it's low tack and it doesn't damage the silicone. You can use that and that'll get it off as well. So don't worry if you go onto the top of the mould, you haven't wrecked your mould, it's absolutely fine. See, it doesn't like to stick to it, so just try and get a coverage, but it's honestly, it's not going to cause a problem. I've got quite a lot over there. You will find you don't need, a little goes a long way with this. You find that you can take from areas and brush it over. Sorry, am I shaking my camera? I've got a new tripod or a new phone holder with a light, and I'm still trying to work out the logistics of using it. So at the moment, I don't think I've quite got the setup right. I don't think I've quite got the lighting right. I don't think I've quite got the sturdiness of it right. So I'm playing around with it at the moment. So I'm going to flip this round just so I can see. So they need a bit more up here. And then I need to make sure I've done the sides as well. So I'm pretty sure the base looks quite well covered. And you can see there's places where I've got lots of excess powder. So rather than going back into my pot, I'm going to take the excess that I've got, and I'm going to just try to use that first. Now this is a floating powder. What that means is when you use this in artwork, it kind of lies on the surface of the resin and it creates this gorgeous floating metal effect basically. So I'm going to use this as well in my resin that I'm going to pour on the back. I was going to use black, but I think I'm actually going to stick with the silver. I think I said that at the start of the video, just to give that extra silvery effect in case the black showed through onto these. I wanted to make sure that it stays with the silver, because it's all an experiment. I didn't know how is going to affect the green. So I'm going to stick with the silver because I really want to see the green through, which is why I'm now wondering whether I should have gone slightly darker with the colour, but we'll see what happens. So yes, what you'll notice and what you'll see happen is the pigment will rise to the top of the resin and you'll end up with a really shiny back to your piece as well. It's surprising how far this powder goes. Goes a long way. So just make sure you brush right to the top because you want your sides to be just as shiny as the surface. Because remember, when you turn this out, this is going to be what you'll see. My hands are covered in silver sparkles. Might need a little bit more from the jar in a minute. I'm just trying to make sure that I've used. So you can see these bits, which is where I had the overflow, but they might just look like little extra raindrops. So I think it should be fine. Sometimes it helps if you turn your mould on its side as well. Oh, sorry, that's not in focus, is it? Okay, so just this side left to do now. So I'm going to just finish this off and then we'll come back and we will pour our back. So I'm just going to finish brushing the sides with my silver and then we'll come back and we'll pour the backing with our silver resin. So for the backing of our tray, I'm using Apex High Gloss resin. It's the thinner resin used in moulds usually. And it's lovely because it'll flow over all of the bubbles or raindrops and get over every little nook and cranny that we've got going on in here. So I've mixed up 140 roughly. So I did 70 millilitres of resin and 70 millilitres of hardener. I don't know if that'll be enough. I'm hoping it will. Excuse me. If it's not, I'll just mix up a little bit more and then add that to the top at the end. So I'm just going to get it out of my cup into my paper cup so I can add the silver. Try and get every bit because don't like wasting any. And I usually just give it just a quick mix to make sure that any resin that was unmixed as I was scraping the sides is now mixed in there. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of our silver powder into here, probably just about that much. Because like I said before, a little goes a long way with this floating metal powder. Lid back on because the stuff goes everywhere. And just slowly stir it in. You can see how shiny that is. When it settles, that's what it looks like when it comes to the top of your resin. If you're using this in artwork, that's the kind of effect you get on the top. And when you stir it into resin, you get more of a kind of rich, very, very rich molten silver. It's a really lovely, lovely pigment to use, even though it's not really a pigment that's often used, I think, like this. I really like mixing it into resin and using it as a colour in its own right. I know why people don't, because it does float. So if I leave that to sit, it will float, and you can see where all the bubbles come because as the powder is rising, it brings it back up to the surface. But I really like the colour of it. I think it's just such a rich silver colour. Okay, so we're going to pour this just over our raindrops. And I hope I've done enough. Oh, it's like molten silver. Oh, I have done enough. That's fine. As usual with me, I'm going to have resin left over. But that's fine. We never waste resin. I'm not going to have much left, actually, having said that. If anything, the tiniest... Oh, look at that. That was pretty good, wasn't it? I've only got, well, I don't think I could have planned that much better if I'd known how much it took. So I'm quite pleased with that. That's good. I can't really use that in anything. Right, I'm going to leave that because bubbles are going to start rising and popping in that, and then the silver will start to float as well. But that is finished now. That's just going to leave to do its thing. It's going to cure. We'll come back tomorrow now and we'll demold this and we'll have a look and we'll see if it's worked. Next day we're back and everything's cured. It's all nice and solid. You can see what I mean when I say that the metal powder rises to the top. But now it's the moment of truth. So we're going to demold and I'm going to see if this has actually worked. Now I know the raindrop effect should have worked. I'm not going to say it has worked, but it should have worked. But will the green show through? That's what we're going to find out. Oh, sparkly. You can see the green glitter. And you've got a lovely shiny edge where we brushed the edge of the mould. Oh, sneak peek. Okay, ready? So we're going to flip it in 3, 2, 1. Oh, it did. It did. It did work. Oh, look. I'm actually really pleased with that. I knew the raindrop effect would work because I've done it before, but I didn't know if the green would show through. And actually, I'm really happy with the colour of that green because it's light enough. See, now, so all these little bits that you can see in here, these were the bits of resin that were left on the mould. So all these little bits, you can see the brush strokes as well where I brushed the metal powder on. I mean, that's just one of the things with chrome powders. But I mean, you could have cleaned it off. But personally, I don't mind it so much because we went for more of a kind of informal sort of design anyway, with our rim not being stuck right in the edge of the tray. And we've got that lovely green glittery edge going on as well with the spruce glitter that we used. Ah, well, that was a success. So now that we know it works, we can try that with different colours and we can try it with different backings, so not necessarily the chrome. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed and hope it's maybe given you some inspiration. If you've tried the raindrop effect before, maybe try adding a transparent tint. Has to be transparent. If you use opaque, you're just going to end up with blobs, coloured blobs, which also looks really pretty, but you're not going to get this raindrop effect. Sorry, I knocked my camera then. But yeah, so there we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any ideas of anything else that you'd like to see, pop them in the comments. But yeah, green raindrops. Try something else now. And you turn it that way, you can see the pale green even more then. I know the lighting's not the best. It's an awfully wet day here in Wales. So anyway, there we go. There's our finished tray. Thank you so much for watching and for coming along on that little experiment with me. And I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye.